Hello friends, welcome to Salesforce Semantics video session 214. So basically in today's video, we will actually try to understand how we can deal with the null values. So basically in Salesforce Semantics, there are situations when you encounter some null values, and to bring that in the lens, we will understand how that is done about, okay? So we will also refer the document which I told you to get downloaded, because as a reference of that, we are going to proceed towards learning SAQL. Firstly, what I'm going to do is I will open the Analytics Studio and open the data set as well. So basically there's a data set which we have, which is a recipe account data set. So we will see from where it is coming. Okay, so I have something called as the account data set condition, which is fine, not an issue. Uh, Maybe I can also go for this one. Okay, that is the account recipe account data set. As you can see, there's no filter and anything over here. So what I will do is basically I can just run the connect very quickly just to ensure there's no data drift and all the data are coming properly. So I will just run this particular connect. Okay. And once this runs successfully, I will just run this particular recipe. Fine. So let's monitor this very quickly. In the meanwhile, what you can do is you can also open your document, and the page where I want you to go is, the instead of scrolling in this manner, let me take the help of this. Yeah. So I want you to understand this one. Okay. So we will also go through this document. Let me at least run the recipe first. Okay, this ran successfully. So now I will just run this particular recipe. Okay, that's it. Now, the thing to understand is that how we actually deal with the null measures and dimensions. What you can see is for the dimension, we can include the null dimension. When a record's dimension is left blank, it appears as a hyphen in Explorer and Dashboard. Previously, SQL were limited to non-null values for non-grouping. But the thing is that here you have to ensure that you actually include this particular checkbox, include null values. So here it is saying that basically any null values which are already there, that comes as a dash. Okay. First of all, we are going to check it. So the example which I will take is, let's say from the account itself. Okay. If I go for, maybe I can take the created date also. So we will run the export. And here, as you can see, we have total 1008 records, which is completely fine. But the main thing is that what we need to check is, like if you see over here, I have this industry as blank. Okay. The industry field, of course, as well as the type is also blank for me. Now we will check if this appears in the dataset side as well or not. As you can see, the number of records is 1006, 1008. And we will check if we can see the type, the null type as well over there or not. Okay. So now we will actually just cross-check if it runs successfully. So it's still running. So we will now just monitor this one as of now. That is fine. Okay. Now, as you can see, this ran successfully. And what I'm going to do is I will quickly open this particular data set. That is the recipe account data set. I think this was the name, if I'm not wrong, the recipe account data set. As you can see, it's the account, and directly we are taking the data set. Okay. So this account is coming from our SFDC local, and that's it. Okay. There's nothing, no filter and all. So now if you see, we are able to see 1008 records, which is exactly matching with my with the SQL which I did on my internal org. Okay. But the problem is here, if I bring the account type, or let's say even if I bring the, of course, this is applicable for account type, but if you see the industry also, yeah, here you will see there's no number of records shown for the blank. So we have certain blank records, but that number is not shown up. Of course, for whatever values if you have, okay, so those kind of things are definitely being shown up over here. But if you see the blank values for the number of rows for the blank records are not being populated. Now that is what it is saying over here. So basically, if you have to select the include none values and refresh your data set. So what I'm going to do is, if you come over here and if you go to this analytics settings, so you will see something called as blank. Okay. So here, let me search with blank. Sorry, let me search with null. So as you can see, include null values in CMAtrix queries. Okay. So if I hover in this information icon is showing queries, ignore null values by default. So by default, you will never have null values as you saw on the lens right now. But if you want to include the null values, you have to enable these settings and refresh your data set. So what I'm going to do is basically now I will just scroll down and I will save this one. Okay. Now this is saved. I will just refresh and check once just to ensure that checkbox is enabled. Just need a confirmation. Okay, as you can see, this checkbox is enabled and include null values. Now, just understand when they say refresh your data set, that doesn't mean that you will just refresh this data set from the URL. Okay, that's not the way it means. What it means is basically you have to again run that complete process. Okay, so for example, if I again come to this industry, you see the blank rows are actually not showing up. So when they say refresh the data set, you have to again follow that process where you will run the sync as well as the recipe layer. So firstly, what I will do is I will again go to connect tab. I will run the account sync. Okay. So let me run full sync. That's fine. So this sync doesn't take but that much time. It hardly takes 20 seconds. So that's what we are going to do right now. Okay. And we will also understand how after that we can actually utilize this particular function. So let's see when it's going to run. So this ran, okay, it's almost at the final stage. Okay. Now this ran successfully. Now what I will do is I will just run this recipe one as well. Okay. I'm running it from here as I'm not doing any changes on the recipe. So that's why I'm not clicking on save and then we're going to the recipe section. Okay. The recipe is queued to run, which means it's running right now. So we are going to monitor this one right now. Okay. So as you can see, this ran successfully. Now what I will do is basically I will again go to this data set. I will just refresh the screen. And here I will bring the industry right now. Okay. So I will have the industry. And if you see here at last, you are able to see this dash, right? So you see, so there are the number of records where there is blank. It is one, yeah, it is 6 number of records itself. So as you can see, this blank is showing for 6. Now, similarly, if I go for type also, you're going to see the same thing, right? So you see there's something called as dash. Now that is what is written over here as well. So basically, uh, okay, so basically it appears as a hyphen if you see over here. So when we have this option enabled, it appears as a hyphen. So it's I'm saying it as a dash, but you can say it as a hyphen also, whatever way you like to say it. But a dash or a hyphen is going to appear. Now, let's say how to deal with this particular thing through SAQL. So here, as they have written over here, that basically ASC nulls last. So if let's say if you're ordering by something, okay, you are ordering by type, but you want the null to be last, okay. So in that case, you are going to write this one that nulls first. So suppose if you want it in the first, so currently it's showing at last. If you want it to be at the very top, so you can write something like nulls first, okay. So if you write this part, as you see currently it's showing on the top. So now if I go back to my chart mode, see it's going to show me at the top over here, okay. So similarly, I mean, you can do it for, and one more thing, whenever you change something to SAQL, you will not be able to do further changes in the UI. That is something I will be explaining as well as we proceed further. But as of now, let me just open this data set once again. And if I bring the industry also, you will be able to see that basically that hyphen which is appearing at last, that we can bring it at first by just writing this particular syntax in SQL of nulls first, okay? Or rather the code in SQL nulls first. So again, if I run it, so you see that right now it's going to show me on the very top, okay, this particular thing. Now let's say I just save this particular lens, okay, and maybe I write it as nulls first, something like that, nulls first, SQL, okay. Okay, what I can do is basically for this one, I can create one more app which will be like a SAQL app, okay. So what I will do is here, I will just create this new app called SAQL app. So whatever SAQL things we are doing, we can save it as a lens over here. So let me go for blank app, and here I'm clicking on continue, and I will just write SAQL app as of now. Okay. So now what I will do is basically I will refresh it once again. That's fine. Let it reload. And if I bring this particular uh, industry itself, and here I'm going to write once again nulls first. So, and if I run this query, and here as you can see, it's coming as this nulls is coming as first. And if I save it here, I can write something like, okay. But one thing to remember is basically if you don't have that option enabled, right? So in that case, what is going to have, it's never going to take up this particular line, nulls first, fine. So for example, if I just disable that checkbox and if I run this whole thing once again, it's going to throw me an error, okay? So maybe very quickly you can cross check this one. So let's say I disable this value, include null values in CMATs, okay? And if I click on save over here, and once again, what I'm going to do is basically I will run the connect as well as the recipe, fine. So I will run the account sync. So here I'm just running this account sync once again. So let's see. So basically this ran successfully, the sync. And now what I'm going to do is I will once again now run this particular recipe, okay? So again, I will come to this monitor. Cat is in queue, so we will again once again monitor. Okay, as you can see, this recipe ran successfully. Now what I will do is I will just refresh this lens because I already saved it as a lens. I will just refresh this one. Okay. Now as you can see, here I'm still now not able to see that null. Okay. So although this code is working fine, but it's just that since I again disable that option of include null values, okay, include null values in CMS query. So that's why it's not showing me that particular I mean, it's not showing me the hyphen part right now. So that is something to consider, that you need to enable this checkbox so that you can deal with the null values. Okay. So yeah, that's it about this one. Again, if I enable this, it's going to show me that hyphen or null. And yeah, let's meet very soon in our next video.